First of all, I think because it's important that you all get things said yourself, I'm not going to talk for too long. That's a lie, you always have to be told this time. But what I do want to say, you know, two things. I've been asked to speak about like what impact all of this would have on the other three nations. And I'm watching you all with your t-shirts saying another Scotland is possible. And this is just magnificent, you know. Sometimes when you're doing it, you forget what you've done. So I just wanted to take a minute so that you could see what we're doing. There are over 1,000 people here. And they're not people who just got off the bus to be entertained at a concert. You know, there are 1,000 people who have got themselves here. So I would very quickly start changing these t-shirts to another Scotland is probable. Because you have to be in here, it's your second conference, you're working, you're building. So, I mean, this new Scotland is already underway. And because there's never anything new under the sun, this new Scotland is, you know, that dream of that you have here, which isn't at its heart any different from the dreams ordinary people have throughout the whole world. You know, when you're talking about the things that you want, the things you want for families, for children, for working people, the people want to be safe, they want to be warm, they want to have income, they want to be treated as human beings. There is actually nothing distinctively Scottish about that. Sorry. It's a fundamental need of humanity. But what makes it Scottish in your context is that's where you are. You know, this is Scotland. And so, James Connolly is often quoted, and you know, one of the big revolutionary working class heroes of Ireland, and we got him from Scotland. And not a lot of people in Ireland know that. They kind of, anything that's good, people tend to claim as their own. But I'll always make a statement just so people understand it. Connolly said something once with which I profoundly disagree. Trotsky said something once, I think, with which I actually agreed. Somebody called me a trot and I said Trotsky must have had a bit of a brain about him. What? I was very young then. But one of the things that James Connolly said was, Ireland without its people mean nothing to me. James Connolly said that. And I understood that because he's from Scotland. But Ireland, if there was nobody on it, only me, matters to me. Because that's where I'm from. So it's a part of my own DNA that if there was nobody else on that island, harmonises with things that make other people run for the boat. I love the smell of burning soil. Turf. That's what it is, burning soil. I love the smell of it. I love the way the sun hangs low in the sky. And I love the way at this time of the year, the place where I live, which is in a rural area because I'm a peasant, turns to brown. I love that wilderness of stones that broke the backs of a generation of people trying to tame. That's my identity. Actually, it doesn't have anything to do with my class. It doesn't have anything to do with my creed. It's my culture. It's generation upon generation of person that is attuned with that. And that's my national identity. It has nothing to do with nationalism. Absolutely nothing to do. They're two different things. And people who don't know that they're two different things need to go back to that great debate between an Englishman and an Irishman. Thomas Paine, who proclaimed the rights of man and had no excuse for not including women, because Mary Wollstonecraft was trying to tell him about that bit of it and he wasn't listening. But between Thomas Paine, who understood the rights of human beings and culture and identity, and Edmund Burke, who was a conservative nationalist. And if you go back, because I'm always telling people, especially young people, go back, now you have the internet, you can actually Google them, same as everybody else, and get readings of those people. But the fundamental debate between Thomas Paine and Edmund Burke was about whether people made up society and controlled government, and the state was an instrument of society, or as Burke wanted, that once you had decided on the state and the government, they became almost a substitute for monarchy, and they were in charge. And I was at a conference there just a couple of weeks ago in England, and I made a brilliant discovery. Although we continue sadly to be governed by Her Majesty's government of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which makes up the United Kingdom, I didn't know that there was a Minister for Civic Society in England. I never heard anything as ridiculous in my life. Civic society owns the government. But in England they have reduced civic society to a department of government under this, not a bad fella actually for a Tory, this minister who came to this conference. So a new Scotland that is possible is constitutionally based in those very solid Republican ideas of Thomas Paine. So much as we would all love to think that we all invented republicanism, it's actually traced back to an Englishman who had to flee for his life for writing seditious pamphlets. And he set out very clearly how a constitutional republic works. And you have to have a constitution. You have to have a written constitution, or you don't have a republic. Now you can have a right-wing republic, a left-wing republic, a halfway down the middle republic, a poor republic, a wealthy republic. I wish we hadn't bothered our asses republic, whatever you like. But it cannot be a republic without a written constitution that has been agreed, debated by the people, and voted on by the people by way of referendum. If you don't have one of them, you have what they used to have in Ireland long ago, you have a free state. Not worth ever one. And then you'll be inviting the Queen and all them good people to reign over you at arm's length. And my mother told me, because she was a good Christian, my father, he was an even better Christian, but he was a Republican. And my mother used to say all the time, John, don't say those things about the Queen. The Queen is a noble and gracious lady. And my father used to say, she is indeed, and well may be. But she is nonetheless a receiver of stolen goods and the inheritor of a butcher's apron. So how will, if you're moving on from this great radical conference, if you're getting out there, and although I speak by an organiser, so there's two things I would like to stop and say for a minute. Don't forget, when you're out there campaigning for everybody to vote for your new Scotland, that most of the young people in Scotland, probably as in the north and everywhere else, aren't registered to vote. So the day after the referendum, and the day too late to have figured that out, there's a practical campaign that has to go along with your campaign. Of every time you get somebody involved in the campaign, you need to say, are you registered to vote? And here's how you do it if you're not. So the campaign to register to have a vote is going to be an integral part of your campaign to actually vote. Or you'll find out, as we find out many times, people all come to your meetings when it comes to actually referendum day. They're not on the register. Their voice doesn't count. So you're going to have to do that. But looking at what kind of impact will it have on us? It's not rocket science. If Scotland created the kind of Scotland you're talking about, if Scotland created a society, an independent nation, based on social justice, based on equality, based on care, on these small islands, what would the impact be, first of all, on these small farmers, small mentality, small-minded, impoverished, sold out to the bankers' Republic of Ireland? What kind of inspiration would even knowing you're at it give the people of the only republic on these islands at present to reclaim the Republic of the Irish population? What inspiration, what courage would be given to them? If you want momentum to keep going, look at the cost of losing. I have been at this conference and I thank you for it. I was at a conference just as I say 2 weeks ago, a Locality 13 conference of community and radical activists in London. About 600 people. And I was thankful to be there. Because it is a hard day's work to get over the despair and the despondency of people in Northern Ireland of how much we paid, how hard we fought, how much we lost to get nothing but the paralysis of petty-minded manipulation of sectarianism that constitutes the government we have got. And you don't lose. Having raised the prospect, you don't lose. Because even as you go forward, those who do not want to see the vision that you have set out will try to undercut you with every mean and miserable division in your society they can pull out. And you need to be strong against it. You need to make room. You need to go the extra mile to see the other point of view, so that the opposition can't drive a wedge between you and use one against the other. You need to be prepared to wait and take your colleague and your comrade with you. And you need to learn the lessons of the Irish Republic, when the cry for freedom was Labour must wait. 2013, and the labouring classes are still waiting for a republic fit for working people to live in. So you need not to set aside the principles of labour, of social justice that are talked about here today. Not luxuries. Not luxuries. And you need to win over many people who haven't maybe thought about them, to allow those ideas to flourish. If not immediately be victorious, at least flourish in the new republic. You will liberate the English working class, because a Republic of Scotland, as you dream about it here, causes us all, but most particularly the English working class, the English people, to reconfigure and revisit and reclaim their own history. They need to do that, because their history as it is currently told, the British history imposed upon us. Although I went to school where we were taught how was the Union brought about by perjury and fraud, by men who sold their native land as Judas sold his God. We were then told not to write that in the exam. But that kind of dual mentality aside, British history as we understand it is a perverse history, an untrue history, that brings in its wake the racism that we visit in British society today. The direct link between that rubbish that children were taught in English, Scottish, Irish and English schools, that the British went out and civilized the world. My father was right. Didn't civilize the world. Their pirates went out and plundered Africa, North America, South America, Australia. They killed people. They destroyed their language. They trampled over their national identity. They stole their resources. And it made Britain great. But that was the ruling class. The history of Thomas Paine, the history of the Levellers, the history of the Highlanders, the history of working people, the history of women, the history of caring people on these islands is not written. And the writing of it, and the releasing of it, and the reclaiming of it is part and parcel of making a new Scotland possible. And you are the best chance we've got, because you've got a referendum. Vote yes for yourselves, and please, for the future of humanity on these islands, vote yes for the rest of us.